camels, spices, chests of gold. A queen from the far south arrives to test Israel's most famous king. What she asked and what he gave changed reputations, politics, and legends for millennia. This is the story of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, real history, surprising lessons in 1 Kings 10 and 2 Chronicles 9. We read of a dramatic meeting. The Queen of Sheba comes with a caravan full of gifts and questions, and leaves praising the Lord and Solomon's wisdom. Today we'll delve into the biblical scene, track the caravans to Saba, Yemen or in Ethiopia, examine the traditions that grew up around the queen, weigh archaeological evidence, and pull out leadership lessons you can apply this week and beyond. Before we start, drop which translation you prefer, ESV, NIV, NLT, other. We'll read from ESV for clarity. The canonical record is compact and telling. When the Queen of Sheba heard about the fame of Solomon and his relationship to the Lord, she came to test Solomon with hard questions. She arrived with a very great caravan, camels carrying spices, large quantities of gold, and precious stones. Solomon answered all her questions. She gave him gifts, he gave her gifts in return. And she left astonished at his wisdom and the prosperity of his reign. 1 Kings 10, 2 Chronicles 9. Two clear details jump out. 1. This was a diplomatic visit, not a casual jaunt. 2. The story highlights Solomon's wisdom and wealth. But beyond those facts, the text is silent about the queen's name, her origin precisely, and political motives. That silence created space for legend. Who was the Queen of Sheba? Geography and identity. Who exactly was the Queen of Sheba? Most mainstream historians link Sheba to the Sabaean kingdom of southern Arabia, modern-day Yemen, a wealthy incense polity known in ancient inscriptions and archaeology. Excavations at Marib and other Sabaean sites confirm a powerful South Arabian culture that controlled incense roots. UNESCO recently recognized the landmarks of the ancient kingdom of Saba Marib for its archaeological testimony to the Sabaean kingdom's wealth and trade networks. But there's an important alternative. Long literary traditions, especially in Ethiopia, identify the queen as a Sabaean ruler in the Horn of Africa, often called Sheba in older texts. Ethiopian tradition preserves a powerful story, the Kebra Nagast, identifying the queen as Makeda, the mother of Menelik, ancestor of the Ethiopian Solomonic line. Both geographic options have been argued for by historians and commentators, and that debate continues. Which do you think is likelier, Yemen or Ethiopia? Comment now. Solomon's world. Trade, wealth, and what gold and spices meant. Solomon's throne story emphasizes international trade. The biblical story names gold, spices, and precious stones, commodities that moved along Red Sea and Arabian routes. Scholars note that the Levant and southern Arabia formed robust long-distance trade networks in the first millennium BCE, supplying incense, spices, and exotic goods to Mediterranean markets. The biblical claim of Solomon receiving vast tribute, 1 Kings 10:14, cites 666 talents of gold annually, paints a picture of extraordinary wealth. Whether hyperbolic or factual depends on interpretation. But there's independent evidence that the region was economically vibrant during the Iron Age. UNESCO. Marib equals hub of incense trade. Sabaean landmarks attest to centralized power. Think diplomacy meets trade, a royal exchange that communicated status, sealed alliances, and broadcasted reputation. In ancient politics, gifts were a language. The visit, gifts, questions, and the test of wisdom. The text frames the queen's visit as a test. She came to test Solomon with hard questions. Our modern ears imagine riddles. The ancient practice often meant probing for political sagacity, moral judgment, or theological depth. Solomon answered all her questions. Nothing was too hard for the king to explain. 1 Kings 10:3. In other words, he passed the intellectual and diplomatic exam. She responds with an astonished confession. The report was true that I heard in my land of your words and of your wisdom, and she blesses the Lord who gave Solomon such wisdom. 3 features matter. 1. The queen arrives with respect and test. 2. Solomon displays wisdom in word and hospitality. 3. The exchange moves beyond court drama to theological testimony. The queen blesses the God of Israel. That theological move is key to how biblical authors want readers to understand the scene. Wisdom test, diplomacy, law, theology, Ethiopian tradition, Kebra Nagast, and the story of Makeda and Menelik. Outside the Bible, a rich body of legend grew around the queen. In Ethiopia, the Kebra Nagast, Aegea's epic compiled around the 13th-14th centuries, tells a detailed story. The queen called Makeda visits Solomon, sleeps with him. Some versions describe trickery, bears a son named Menelik, who later returns to Ethiopia with the Ark of the Covenant and founds the Solomonic dynasty. This narrative became foundational for Ethiopian royal ideology and remains a central element of Ethiopian Christian identity. The Kebra Nagast postdates the biblical text by many centuries and mixes history, legend, and national myth, so historians treat it as tradition rather than straightforward history. The Ethiopian story is vital culturally. It shaped 2 millennia of Ethiopian identity. But historians distinguish cultural truth, what a story accomplished for a people, from verifiable historical fact. Both are valuable. We'll weigh them separately. Kebra Nagast equals national epic 13th C. Cultural, not canonical. Archaeology and evidence. What we can and can't prove. What does archaeology say? 2 points are key. 1. Sabaean civilization is archaeologically attested. Excavations and inscriptions in Marib and other sites confirm a wealthy, centralized South Arabian culture that managed incense routes, hydraulic works, and monumental architecture. UNESCO lists the landmarks of the ancient kingdom of Saba in Marib for good reasons. 2. Direct proof that the queen visited Solomon is lacking. There are no inscriptions or Sabaean records explicitly describing a royal embassy to Jerusalem, nor Israelite inscriptions naming a Sheba ruler as the biblical narrative depicts. Many scholars therefore treat the biblical story as a mix of memory, royal propaganda, and theological emphasis rather than a strict diplomatic chronicle. The Biblical Archaeology Review and other specialist outlets summarize the consensus: a compelling story with plausible trade context but limited direct corroboration. Put simply, Saba existed and was rich. Whether the specific trip occurred as the Bible reads it can't be proven archaeologically, but it's plausible in the context of ancient trade. Evidence meter: archaeological, high for Saba; direct visit evidence, low, none. Why the story was told: literary and theological purposes. Why did biblical authors include the Sheba episode? Literary and theological purposes are visible: to display Solomon's wisdom internationally. A test from a foreign queen highlights fame beyond Israel. To show the Lord's blessing, the queen's praise becomes a testimony to Israel's God, not merely a court anecdote. To underscore the cosmic reach of God's fame, a remote ruler coming to Jerusalem dramatizes the idea that God's wisdom and rule are acknowledged by nations. To teach about wealth and hospitality, Solomon's exchange of gifts models the use of royal resources. These functions help explain why the story survived in the text. It's both diplomatic drama and theological claim with pedagogical value. Stories function as arguments. This one argues, Solomon's wisdom is real, God's blessing is visible, and nations come to Jerusalem not only for trade but to honor God. Leadership and diplomacy, real-life applications. Now the payoff: what does this mean for leaders, influencers, and anyone who wants to operate well in a complex world? We'll give 5 practical lessons from Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. 1. Reputation precedes access. The queen came because Solomon's reputation for wisdom had traveled beyond Israel. Invest in consistent character. Your reputation opens doors. 2. Prepare to be tested. The queen tested Solomon. In real life, tests arrive disguised as interviews, negotiations, or crisis decisions. Train in humility and knowledge before the test. 3. Hospitality is diplomacy. Solomon's generous hospitality was part of his political toolset. Hospitality builds trust and softens hard negotiations. 4. Exchange, not extraction. Gifts in ancient diplomacy were political currency. Wise leaders seek reciprocal value instead of extraction. 5. Faith and humility together. The queen's reaction gives credit to God. Leaders who connect success to something larger inspire loyalty and purpose. Each principle is actionable. Later in the video, we'll give a 7-day leader challenge to practice these in your life. Modern relevance, cultural exchange, curiosity, and avoiding idolatry. The Sheba story also speaks to culture, curiosity, and religious humility. The queen is curious, she asks difficult questions, and she learns. That intellectual humility, willing to travel, ask, and learn, is rare and powerful. But there's a counter warning: legends can become idols. The Kebra Nagast shows how a story can build royal identity, and when stories ossify into national destiny, they can exclude others. So celebrate curiosity while watching for the idol of story itself. Use stories to point to God, not to replace Him. Travel, read widely, ask hard questions, but don't make an idol of the anecdote. Let the story turn you toward wonder and toward service. Practical 7-Day Challenge and Personal Application. Here's a short, practical 7-Day Solomon and Sheba Challenge. Day 1. Reputation Audit. List 3 ways your actions reflect your core values. Day 2. Ask better questions. Prepare 3 questions to ask a colleague or mentor that go deeper than small talk. Day 3. Hospitality Act. Invite someone into conversation or coffee who's outside your usual circles. Day 4. Learn like Sheba. Read a trusted short piece from another tradition and summarize. Day 5. Exchange. Give a helpful resource instead of asking for something. Day 6. Humility Check. Write one place you need to give credit away. Day 7. Apply and reflect. Write a short plan to practice one leadership habit for the next month. Share your progress in the comments and I'll pin the best reflections. Conclusion. Solomon and the Queen of Sheba meet at the intersection of wisdom, trade, faith, and diplomacy, and the story keeps teaching. Whether Sheba was in Yemen, Ethiopia, or both in memory, the meeting challenges us. Cultivate wisdom, welcome questions, trade well, and use influence for good. If this video helped you, do 3 things. 1. Comment 1 insight you'll apply. 2. Like and share, help more people find wisdom. 3. Subscribe for weekly deep dives. Peace and wisdom to you.